Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be tackling something I know a lot of you have been asking about,
Mm,
which is how to get more comfortable with everyday English conversations,
yes.
especially for those of you at like the A1 level.
Right.
You've got the basics down, but then actually using them in like real life,
Yeah.
it can still feel a bit scary.
Absolutely.
And so you guys sent us this really interesting video
Okay.
that's specifically designed to help A1 learners
Nice.
master those everyday situations. So that's what we're diving deep into today.
That's how I figured.
Me too. It should be good.
Yeah.
So, one thing that really struck me right away in this video is that it
Right.
doesn't just like tell us to practice conversations.
Right.
It actually like digs into like why it's so important to master those everyday interactions.
Hmm.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's super important because so many learners, they focus on, grammar and vocabulary, and they kind of forget that the whole point is to actually be able to, talk to people.
Yeah.
Like in real life.
Yeah.
It's like you're learning all these notes, but you never play a song.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And this video really highlights that it's about like building your confidence,
Yeah.
being able to like handle those daily interactions,
Yeah.
like ordering a coffee or asking for help
Exactly.
without feeling lost or nervous.
That's about feeling empowered,
Yes.
Like you can actually use the language
For real.
out in the world.
So the video doesn't stop at just, telling us why it's important.
Okay.
It actually jumps into some like specific scenarios
Got it.
and gives us phrases to get us started.
Awesome.
So let's start with one that I know can be a bit intimidating for language learners.
Okay.
Ordering food at a restaurant.
Ooh, yes, a classic.
Yes.
A classic situation.
The video gives us some handy phrases like, can I have?
Yes.
Or I would like.
Mhm.
And even encourages us to try like,
What do you recommend?
oh, I like that one.
Yeah, me too.
Because it shows you're interested in,
Right.
what they have to offer.
Exactly. And it can be a great way to
Oh.
discover something new.
Yeah, or just, get a sense of what's popular
Totally.
at the restaurant.
Now, while those phrases are super helpful, the video also had this really interesting tip
Okay, tip.
about observing wait staff and customers
Oh, that's a good one.
in real life.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's such a smart strategy because it's like free language immersion.
Yeah.
You're not just learning from a textbook, you're seeing how people actually use the language
Right.
in a natural setting.
Like in the wild.
Exactly. It's like observing,
Yeah.
the language in its natural habitat.
And you might pick up on things that you wouldn't necessarily find
No.
in a textbook.
Yeah, like you might hear people use informal expressions or little variations in praising.
Like slang or
Right, exactly.
idiot. Yeah, it's all about those subtle nuances that make the language come alive.
Totally. So we've talked about observing others, but what about those like listening skills? How do we actually get better at understanding what people are saying,
That's where those practical listening techniques come in.
Okay, let's dive into those.
Yeah.
The first one, the video highlights, is active listening.
Right.
Now, I know that might sound kind of obvious,
Yeah.
but how many times do we find ourselves,
Hmm.
half listening while we're scrolling through our phones or
Right.
thinking about a million other things?
All the time.
Right.
It's so easy to get distracted,
It is.
especially these days.
So how do we like actually actively listen?
Well, it's all about making that conscious effort to really focus on the speaker,
Okay.
tuning in to not just their words, but also, their tone,
Mm-hmm.
their body language,
Mm.
like really trying to understand the message they're trying to convey.
It's like hitting the pause button on all those distractions.
Yeah.
And just giving your full attention to that person.
Like when you're watching a movie
Yeah.
and you're totally engrossed in the story,
Oh, yeah.
you pick up on those subtle details. You understand the character's motivations.
You feel all the feels.
Yes, exactly. And active listening is kind of like that for conversations.
I like that analogy.
It allows you to engage on a much deeper level.
So any tips for like actually staying focused?
Yeah, the video mentions a few good ones, like maintaining eye contact,
Right.
asking clarifying questions if you're not sure about something,
Mm-hmm.
and even taking notes if the situation allows.
Oh, taking notes is a good one.
Especially like in a meeting or a lecture or something.
It can really help you stay engaged.
Yeah, and remember the key points.
Okay, so the next technique that I thought was really interesting is repeat and shadowing.
Ah, yes, a classic language learning technique.
I've heard about this before, but could you like break it down for our listeners?
So basically repeat and shadowing involves listening to short audio clips of native speakers and then repeating what you hear. mimicking their pronunciation and intonation as closely as possible.
It's like a workout for your mouth muscles.
Exactly. You're training yourself to produce the sounds and rhythms of natural English speech.
So it's like learning a song.
Kinda. Yeah, you listen to it over and over again.
Right.
And eventually you can sing along perfectly.
But isn't there a danger of like just mimicking without really understanding?
That's a great question. And the key here is to start with short, manageable clips
Okay.
and gradually increase the complexity as you get more comfortable.
Got it.
And as you practice, really focus on understanding the meaning of the phrases you're repeating.
So you're not just like parroting.
Exactly. You want to be thinking about what you're saying.
Make it meaningful.
Yes. And you can do things like break down the sentences, look up unfamiliar words, even record yourself to compare your pronunciation with the original audio.
Oh, that's a good tip.
It helps you identify areas where you need to improve.
Okay. And what about subtitles? I've always wondered if using subtitles is a good thing or a bad thing for language learning.
Yeah, it's a bit of a debate.
Right.
But this video actually has some really interesting advice on this.
Okay.
It suggests using subtitles strategically.
How so?
We'll start with subtitles in your native language
Okay.
to get the overall gist of what's being said. Then as your listening skills improve, you can switch to English subtitles
Oh, see.
and really focus on connecting the written words with the spoken sounds.
It's like having training wheels for your ears.
Exactly. You start with that extra support and gradually wean yourself off
Right.
as you gain confidence.
I like that. And the video also mentions this cool tip about trying to anticipate what the speaker will say
Oh, yes. I love that one.
before reading the subtitles.
Yeah, it's like a little game.
It keeps you engaged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it helps you develop those prediction skills, which are super important in real conversations.
Yeah, because in real life, there are no subtitles.
Right, exactly. You have to be able to follow along
In real time.
without that visual aid.
So we've covered some great individual listening techniques.
Yeah.
But the video also stresses the importance of, putting yourself out there and engaging in real conversations.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know for some people, this can be the most daunting part,
Oh, for sure.
especially for those who are, naturally shy or introverted.
I can relate to that.
Right.
But it's so important to push past those initial anxieties.
Okay. Any advice on how to do that?
Well, the video suggests exploring language exchange groups.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
So these are groups where you can connect with other language learners, both online and in person.
Right.
And you can practice your English in a supportive, judgment-free zone.
It's like having a built-in support system.
Exactly. You're all in this together.
And for those who prefer a more like tech-driven approach,
Yeah.
there are also tons of language learning apps out there
Oh, yeah.
that can connect you with native speakers for conversation practice.
It's amazing how technology has opened up these opportunities.
To interact with people from all over the world.
But even with all of these tools and resources, the video makes a point that I think is absolutely crucial.
Okay.
Which is embracing mistakes.
Yes. Such an important mindset shift.
Because I know for me personally, the fear of making mistakes has always been like a huge barrier.
I think that's really common for a lot of language learners.
Yeah, we strive for perfection.
Right.
But the truth is mistakes are inevitable.
They're a part of the process.
And that's okay.
It's how we learn.
So how do we go from, fearing mistakes to embracing them?
Well, I think it starts with shifting our perspective.
Okay.
From viewing mistakes as failures to seeing them as valuable learning experiences.
Like stepping stones.
Exactly. Each stumble, each awkward pause, it's an opportunity to learn and grow.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You're going to fall a few times,
Yeah.
but each fall teaches you something.
Right.
Helps you improve your balance.
And eventually write it without even thinking about it. Exactly. So the key takeaway here is don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yes.
They're part of the journey.
Embrace them.
So we've talked about active listening, repeat, and shadowing, using subtitles wisely, and even embracing those inevitable mistakes.
It's a lot to take in.
This video is packed with great advice.
It is very practical.
But there's one more concept that I want to touch on that I found particularly intriguing, which is finding your own learning style and preferences.
Oh, yes, that's so important.
Because what works for one person may not work for another.
Exactly. We all learn differently.
Right. So the video encourages us to think about, what motivates us, what keeps us engaged, what helps us absorb information effectively.
Like figuring out your workout routine.
Oh, yeah.
Some people thrive in group fitness classes, while others prefer solo runs in the park.
I'm definitely a solo runner.
Me too.
So the key is to find what gets you moving and keeps you motivated.
Exactly. And when it comes to language learning, the same principle applies.
Do you learn best through visual aids, audio exercises, hands-on activities,
Right.
structured lessons, or more immersive experiences?
It's all about experimenting and finding what works best for you.
And the video really empowers you to take ownership of your learning journey.
Yes, it's your journey.
And that leads us to another key point highlighted in the video, finding resources and communities that align with your interests.
Making the learning process enjoyable and relevant to your life.
Yeah. It's like if you love to cook, maybe you join a language exchange group
Right.
that focuses on like discussing recipes or something.
Yeah. Or if you're a film buff, you could join a group that watches and discusses movies in English.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's all about combining your passions with your language learning goals.
Love it. And of course, we can't forget about those language learning apps.
Right? There's an app for everything these days.
Seriously, it's amazing.
Some apps focus on gamification. Turning language practice into like a fun little game.
Yeah, those can be really motivating.
They are. And then there are apps that provide personalized lessons tailored to your specific needs and goals.
Like a personal language coach in your pocket.
Exactly. And of course, there are apps that connect you with live tutors.
Oh, yeah, for that real-time feedback.
It's all about finding the right app or combination of apps.
Right, that fits your learning style and your budget.
Exactly, because some of them can be a bit pricey.
They can. So as we wrap up our deep dive into this awesome video, I want to circle back to a theme that's been woven throughout our conversation today.
Okay.
Which is the power of embracing those like everyday interactions.
Right, even the seemingly insignificant ones.
Yeah, like it's easy to get caught up in those big goals. Like acing an exam or giving a presentation. But the truth is, fluency is built, one conversation at a time.
One brick at a time.
Exactly. Like think about it, greeting your neighbor.
Right.
Ordering your morning coffee.
Asking for directions.
These are all like micro workouts. Yeah.
For your language muscles.
I like that analogy.
Each interaction, no matter how brief, it contributes to your overall progress.
It all adds up.
And as you gain confidence and fluency, you'll find yourself not just understanding those everyday conversations, but actually enjoying them.
Yes.
You'll start to pick up on the humor, the slang, the cultural nuances that add so much richness and depth to your interactions.
It's like unlocking a secret code.
It is. And the most exciting part is that this journey of language learning, it never really ends.
It's a lifelong adventure.
There's always something new to discover.
Absolutely. New words, new expressions.
New accents, new culture.
It's a never-ending journey of exploration.
So to our listener out there who's eager to conquer those everyday English conversations, remember, you have all the tools and resources you need to succeed.
Got this.
Embrace those small steps, celebrate your progress,
Yeah.
and never be afraid to stumble along the way.
Stumbling is part of the process. Because ultimately, the rewards of mastering everyday English conversations, they're immeasurable.
They are life-changing.
It's about connecting with people, experiencing new cultures.
Expanding your horizons.
It's about unlocking a world of possibilities.
So keep practicing, keep exploring.
And keep diving deep.
Into this fascinating world of language.
We can't wait to see what you achieve.
Thanks for joining us.
On the Deep Dive.